The weather this year is abnormally hot. The capital has turned into a giant furnace. We've had continuous 40-degree heat and the ground temperature has soared straight to 60 or 70 degrees. I realized something was wrong and hurried back to my hometown. Getting off work and heading home, taking the elevator up to my apartment, left my head completely drenched in sweat. The moment I got in, I took a quick shower, turned the AC on full blast, and comfortably lay down on the sofa while I was eating ice cream. Mi mom kale. Xiao, are you off work? Mom watched the weather forecast. It's over 40 degrees where you are. Go straight home after work. Don't run around outside, okay? I know, Mom. That's good. You've always been afraid of the heat. Don't get heat stroke. By the way, your dad cleaned up our mountain a bit. And he tidied up the air raid shelter too. Why don't you come back and see us? Our fruits are ripe and piled up in there, waiting for you and Xiaowei to come eat. My mom's words made my mouth water. Our home is in a mountainous area, cool all year round. A few years ago, my parents contracted the entire back mountain and planted various fruit trees on it. The trees have matured in recent years, giving us an endless supply of fruits every year. I used to go back to eat them every year. But this year I couldn't. I want to come back too. But I have to work overtime lately. Once I'm less busy, I'll go visit you. My mom was obviously a little disappointed. All right then, focus on your work. Come back when you can. Your dad and I are waiting for you. After hanging up, I opened my laptop to revise a project proposal. The higher-ups were pushing this project hard, and we were short-staffed. So we had to work around the clock. After a grueling half-month of non-stop work, we finally signed the contract. I quickly applied for my compensatory leave. Thankfully, my manager was understanding. With a wave of his hand, he approved 1 week vacation. That night, I lay in bed scrolling through my phone. It was flooded with videos about the extreme heat wave. People were frying eggs on the ground. Splashed water was instantly turning into vapor, and things inside cars were spontaneously combusting. There was all sorts of crazy stuff. These videos all delivered one clear message. The weather this year is truly terrifying. After thinking for a moment, I used a grocery delivery app to buy some supplies. Juincas. That afternoon, my younger brother, Xiaowei, suddenly showed up. His face was flushed red from the heat. The moment he walked in, he ran to the fridge for a drink. After chugging half a bottle, he collapsed on the floor. Thank God for this soda, it saved my life. I feel much better. I looked at the suitcase by the door. Why did you bring so much stuff? We're on break. Sis, you have no idea how twisted this weather is. Our classrooms are as hot as a smelting furnace. Even with the AC on, it's useless. A few students even got heat stroke. The dorms are the same. It's literally a sauna. I felt like meat on a hot grill, tossing and turning just to keep from burning. It was absolute torture. And guess what's even crazier? The boiler in our school's water room actually exploded from the heat. An actual boiler. So they just sent us home. There were only a few days left of the semester, anyway. Listening to his exaggerated tone, première frenade. Is it really that hot? His university isn't in the city center, so logically, it shouldn't be that bad. Once Xiaowei rested enough, he mysteriously leaned close to me. See? Have you watched the news? It's this hot all over the globe. people are already dying of the heat in tropical countries. My roommates and I were secretly discussing. Could this be the apocalypse? Like a heatwave doomsday? Some psycho-level heat, just like in the movies. You're talking nonsense all day. Read fewer apocalyptic novels. What's going on in that head of yours? How could it be the apocalypse? Go back to your room and rest. Xiaowei pouted, rubbed his head, and went to his room. I walked to the window and looked down. It was almost 6 p.m., but the sun was still glaring outside. The temperature was so high that looking out, the buildings on the ground looked distorted by the heat waves. I checked the temperature on my phone. 41 degrees. But looking at the outside world, it didn't look like 41 degrees at all. I guess the actual temperature had long surpassed 45. In this kind of heat, forget about going shopping. Even just going downstairs to pick up a package would make you sweat buckets. For the next few days, the weather remained scorching, and the daily high temperatures officially broke 45 degrees. The city government issued a notice. All high-altitude work was cancelled, and working hours for public institutions were adjusted. Coupled with the school holidays, a massive wave of people began fleeing the capital. Train stations, high-speed rail stations, bus terminals, and airports were completely packed. Tickets out of the city were virtually impossible to buy. Early one morning, I was woken up by earth-shattering knocks on my door. When I opened it, Xiaowei was standing there looking panicked, shoving his phone right into my face. Sis, something huge happened. It's 50 degrees outside. The government issued a directive, a complete halt to all work and production. If this keeps up, who knows how hot it's going to get. Should we go back home? He bombarded me with info, and I finally snapped awake, grabbing his phone to read. Sure enough, the news anchor was warning everyone. Do not go outside unless absolutely necessary. This high temperature weather came suddenly. Please do not panic and await further arrangements. I forcefully pulled back the curtains, only to be knocked back by a wave of heat. This is way too hot. I live on a high floor, and my windows are double-paned, soundproof, and heat-insulated. But now, just standing by the window, I could literally feel the heatwave radiating from outside. I glanced down at the ground. The residential park was completely deserted. An inexplicable panic rose in my chest. I quickly opened my WeChat group. The manager had posted a notice for everyone to work from home. People in the chat were buzzing. Some were complaining, some were thrilled, and some even joked they wished it would get hotter. I turned to my brother. Go check the videos online. See what the situation is on the highways. Forget about trains. That's impossible now. We're driving back. Xiaowei nodded frantically and started scrolling on his phone. I started packing our things. Water is an absolute necessity. With it being this hot, we absolutely could not run out of water. I quickly took the bottled water and drinks I bought a few days ago and shoved them into the freezer. I also froze a large bucket of ice cubes and took out the car refrigerator I bought a while ago, plugging it in to charge its battery, just in case something happened on the road. Having some backup power is always good. Just as I was thinking about what else to pack, Xiaowei ran out howling. We can't leave. The highways are completely blocked. Looks like there was a huge accident, and even the ambulances can't get through. The traffic jam stretches all the way to the highway entrances. What do we do? He was sweating bullets from anxiety. I pulled out my phone, checked the map routes, and decisively said, "We take the national roads. Even if we get on the highway, it won't be a smooth ride. If we get stuck in traffic there, we'll truly never make it home. Go pack your things right now." Xiaowei ran back to his room. Just then, my mom called again. My heart jumped into my throat and I quickly answered. My mom's anxious voice came through. "Xiaoyu, you have to come back immediately. It's too hot where you are. A lot of people are fleeing. Come back now. It's much cooler at home." "I know, Mom. I'm packing my things right now. Xiaowei, and I will drive back tomorrow morning." The next second, my dad's voice boomed from the receiver. "Leave right now. Do not wait. I have a bad feeling about this weather. Something disastrous is going to happen. Grab water and food and get on the road immediately. Stop at a gas station, buy a few extra jerry cans of gas, and take the national roads. You just start driving. I'll navigate for you. I'll find the fastest route." My dad grew more agitated as he spoke, and his tone became dead serious. My heart pounded like a drum. I immediately yelled for my brother. "Xiaowei, stop packing everything. Just grab 2 sets of clothes. That's enough. Take the keys, go downstairs, and load all these supplies into the car. We're leaving right now." Uri. He looked stunned. But seeing the look on my face, he understood the gravity of the situation. He grabbed the keys and sprinted out the door. I dashed into my bedroom, grabbed charging cables, power banks, thought for a second, and dug out an old Nokia from years ago. Then I went to the storage room to find some large water jugs and grabbed several high-powered flashlights. Finally, carrying a solid iron pipe, a meat cleaver, and a few other things, I went to the living room. These were things my dad bought when he came to visit me before. I didn't know if we'd actually need them, but they wouldn't take up much space, so I decided to bring them along just in case. Xiaowei moved fast. He had already loaded one batch and came back up. "It's super hot outside. Look at all this sweat on me. It hasn't stopped since I came in. The car is hot too. There's absolutely no one in the underground. Let's grab the rest and go down. We need to move quickly." He picked up the big jugs and headed out. Even the usually cool elevator lobby was suffocatingly hot, roasting us alive. Sweat was pouring down my head like a waterfall. It took us 2 trips. But we finally loaded everything. I locked the security door, and we headed downstairs. Because it was so hot, the car engine struggled to start for a long time. When it finally started, the AC wasn't blowing cold enough. But I couldn't care less at that point. I quickly drove out of the garage. Just like Xiaowei said, the entire underground parking lot didn't have a single soul. With weather this extreme, everyone was probably hiding in their homes. When we reached the surface level, I distinctly felt a wave of heat physically hit the town. This ghost weather. Is it trying to cook people alive? All right, stop complaining. Check the route Dad sent. Xiaowei wiped his sweat and looked at his phone. After leaving our residential area, there were a few more cars on the road. While driving, I kept an eye on the stores along the street. When we passed the supermarket I usually go to, the doors were surprisingly open. Seeing people inside, I quickly pulled over and ran inside with Xiaowei. It was a warehouse-style supermarket. We didn't waste any time, grabbing a cart and rushing to buy supplies. The water In the trunk definitely wasn't enough. I made Xiaowei load 10 more cases of water, along with several boxes of instant noodles. When we were checking out, the cashier was covered in sweat. "It's this hot. I can't believe your store is still open. I thought you would have closed early." "We have no choice. If we don't open in this heat, all the fresh goods will rot. We closed for the past 2 days, but people kept calling wanting to buy things. So the boss told us to open, hot or not. People still gotta eat, right?" "That's true. Grocery apps make it too convenient, so most households only buy exactly what they need for the day." After paying, Xiaowei and I loaded everything into the car and hit the road again. We bought quite a lot of stuff, so the back seat was fully packed too. Following my dad's route, we drove until we were near the highway. Even though it was scorching, there were a lot of cars heading for the highway. We were moving at a snail's pace, with horns blaring constantly. I veered off onto a small road running parallel to the highway. But we didn't get far before it got jammed up too. We had to stop. The AC was blasting at maximum, but I still felt like I was being roasted alive. Xiaowei took a towel soaked in ice water and put it on my head. As the chill spread, I let out a sigh of relief. "Make sure you wipe yourself down too. Don't get heat stroke." After waiting for over 10 minutes, the cars ahead finally started moving. I was following the navigation when Xiaowei suddenly screamed, "Sis, swerve left, quick." My arms reacted instinctively, yanking the steering wheel hard to the left, almost simultaneously. With a massive asterisk, it sounded like a bomb went off. I looked outside. A semi-truck had brutally rear-ended a small car. If you had been a second slower, we would have been the ones sent flying. "I'll call the police." Still in shock, I nodded. This was a provincial road, so there were quite a few people around. I figured it was still early, so I pulled the car to the side and stepped out with Xiaowei. The weather seemed to have gotten even hotter. The police arrived quickly. After giving our statement, we hurried back into our car. Xiaowei checked the route, and we continued our journey. Right at that moment, my mom called again. "Xiaoyu, are you guys okay? Where are you now?" I told her our location. My mom seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. "Thank goodness. Listentome." A gas station in the next town just exploded. A lot of people died. It just made the news. Oh God, it's terrifying. You guys should find a different route. Be careful. After hanging up, Xiaowei and I stared at each other. We had just dodged another bullet. According to our original plan, I was supposed to go to that exact gas station. But because of the accident, we were delayed by half an hour. If not for that accident, we would have been right there when it happened. A gas station explosion. The blast must have been devastating. I didn't dare think about it. We hadn't even been on the road that long, and we had already run into two deadly situations. Will we actually make it home alive? On the way, Xiaowei found the video of the gas station explosion online. He went completely silent after watching it. I caught a brief glimpse. The scene was incredibly bloody. The sky quickly darkened. We randomly found a spot to pull over at some heating rails and got back on the road. Xiaowei drove through the night. Visibility was very low, so he drove slowly. Even with the AC on, The car was still sweltering. We had to keep drinking water. Lots and lots of water. Thankfully, the rest of the night was uneventful. As dawn approached, we parked by the side of the road and slept for a few hours. We were still hundreds of kilometers from home. If we didn't rest, we wouldn't have the energy to make it back by the next afternoon. We finally left the capital district and entered the next city. The temperature here was noticeably better. I checked my phone. It was just over 40 degrees, already much cooler than the capital. Because we were taking national roads, we passed several gas stations. We filled up all those large jerry cans with gas, found a place to have the car fully inspected, and bought a few spare tires. That evening, we set off once again. Probably because we were getting further from the capital. The heat wasn't as oppressive. The car's AC finally started to do its job. Finally cooling down. Sis, check how things are in the capital. I had just unlocked my phone when 4 or 5 high temperature warnings popped up. The red exclamation marks were deeply alarming. I glanced at the temperature reading and broke out in a cold sweat. The capital had hit 70 degrees. How could it be 70 degrees? How is anyone supposed to survive that? I quickly tapped into my work group chat. The people in the chat were in pure panic. F********. My AC at home just broke down. I'm burning alive in here. Does anyone know where I can buy a new one? I'll pay triple the price. SOS, please help. Does anyone have spare water? I can drive over to pick it up. My water's been cut off for days. God, I'm dying of heat. Does anyone have medicine for heat stroke? Oh my God, this isn't a heat wave. This is the literal apocalypse. How can it be this hot? Even Africa doesn't get temperatures like this, right? I don't want to die. I want to live. I need to get out of the city. The rest of the chat was just pure wailing and despair. Once again, I silently thanked my dad for his vigilance. If he hadn't forced us to leave immediately with the current traffic in the capital, we'd probably still be stuck on some blocked road. With 70-degree heat outside, please read as a corps. We would have either dehydrated or passed out from heat exhaustion. On our 4th day on the road, things suddenly took a sharp turn for the worse. It wasn't just the capital anymore. Other provinces were also experiencing this extreme heat. The temperature outside spiked drastically, shooting straight up to 50 degrees. The car became a steamer again. We didn't dare to stop and rest, driving relentlessly towards home. Xiaowei was constantly refreshing the news. Sis, everywhere is experiencing extreme heat now. In some places, people are fighting over water. There are even reports of people getting killed. We need to be careful. We can't let anyone target us. I nodded grimly. Xiaowei, I'm going to pull over for a second. Jump in the back and organize our supplies. Cover everything up, especially the water. Make sure nothing is visible from the outside. Xiaowei nodded solemnly. It wasn't me being paranoid. Drinking water had truly become a scarce resource now. If we actually ran into a desperate mob, we wouldn't be able to escape. I suddenly remembered the weapons I grabbed. The Get that iron pipe out. And put the cleaver right next to my hand, just in case. For the rest of the journey, we were extra cautious. Xiaowei gripped the iron pipe, sitting tensely in the back seat. Soudainly. Bong. The entire car violently swerved. It skidded uncontrollably before finally coming to a halt. I checked the dashboard, and my face fell. The tire blew out. I'll go down and check. You wait here. Hold on, wait in the car for a minute. I observed our surroundings. There was no one in sight. It was almost evening, and the sky was getting dark. Juste tombe ça fait. I made him take the iron pipe with him. Xiaowei quickly got out to inspect the tire, while I climbed into the back and dug out the spare tire from under the seat. I was just about to get out when the car suddenly rocked violently. Xiaowei jumped back in with a look of sheer terror and rapidly locked the doors. Sis. We're being targeted. I immediately looked out the back window. Several shirtless men carrying weapons were walking towards us. My nerves snapped taut instantly. Damn it, highway robbers. I knew a tire wouldn't just blow out for no reason. Just our luck running into these scumbags. Soon, the men surrounded our car and started violently banging on it. Bonk, bonk, bonk. The car shook with every hit. The heavy thuds felt like they were striking right against my heart. Xiaowei, are you confident you can take them? Xiaowei gripped his iron pipe tightly. 3, I can take 3 at most. All right, leave the rest to me. I gripped the heavy meat cleaver tightly in my hand. The men outside were still cursing, and the car kept rocking. I took a few deep breaths and slightly rolled down my window. Motherf, asterisk, 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 there's only 2 of them. And here I brought the whole squad out for nothing. Yo. Where are you heading, little sister? Why don't your big brothers keep you company? I hid the cleaver out of sight. What do you want? Please don't kill me. You can take whatever you want. Descu. Don't say that, little sister. Why would we want to kill you? Come on, step out of the car. We won't steal your things. I feigned fear and shot a glance at my brother. Xiaowei gave me an imperceptible nod. Why you guys? Step back a little. Ah. All right. Boys, take a few steps back. Give the little lady some room. In times like these, a girl who knows what's good for her is hard to find. The men joked and leered as they took a few steps back. I checked the distance outside, hid the cleaver behind my back, and stepped right out of the car. Seeing me surrender so easily, one of them even dropped his pipe and swaggered towards me. Idiot. I cursed under my breath and charged right at him. Before he could even react, I slashed my cleaver hard into his arm. Blood spurted instantly. Ah. Olis. UBH. He finally realized what was happening, but it was too late. Xiaowei stormed out and drove his iron pipe straight into the man's gut. The rest of the gang raised their weapons and rushed us. Terrified Xiaowei would get hurt, I wildly swung the cleaver and charged into the fray. Eventually, we managed to beat that group into the dirt. Xiaowei's arms and face were covered in bruises. I took a hit to the leg as well. With no time to rest, I ordered Xiaowei to quickly change the tire, while I stood guard over him, gripping the bloody cleaver. Xiaowei worked fast and got the new tire on in 10 minutes. We didn't dare linger, immediately speeding away from that nightmare spot. Just a few 100 meters down the road, another group of people suddenly appeared in our rearview mirror. I figured they must be accomplices of the ones we fought. I floored the gas pedal to the max and successfully left them in the dust. But I still didn't dare to stop, forcing myself to drive for another hour before finally pulling over. Once the adrenaline wore off, I felt an intense pain in my back, on my arm. My arms were trembling as I leaned back into the driver's seat. Xiaowei handed me a bottle of water. Sis, you rest. I'll keep watch. I looked at the swelling on his face. How are you holding up? Nothing broken, right? He was rolling a cold bottle over his face from the pain. Sans terme. I'm all right. I can handle it. Those guys were just street punks. They look scary, but didn't have much real strength. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to beat them. Ush ush. When we get back, I have to brag to Dad. I successfully fought off 5 guys at once. You're full of yourself. If you couldn't even beat a few street thugs, Dad would have whipped you with his belt. Ever since you were a kid, all your martial arts skills went straight to your mouth. All right, eat some bread and let's get moving. If we run into another group like that, we really won't escape. Xiaowei grunted in agreement. After only resting for 10 minutes, we quickly drove off. The temperature dropped a few degrees at night. At least, it wasn't that flesh-roasting kind of heat. On the 7th day of our journey, we finally reached the borders of our hometown. Over the past 2 days, everywhere had been hit by the extreme heat, creeping relentlessly towards 60 or 70 degrees. Petit point. The world had finally realized the truth. This was a sudden, global heatwave crisis. Meteorologists couldn't even explain the cause of it. Our hometown was a village situated at the foot of a mountain. Even there, the temperature had reached 50 degrees, Mom said she, and Dad had already relocated up the mountain. Although it was still hot, the dense canopy of fruit trees made it significantly cooler. Looking at the navigation app, showing only 30 miles left, I finally let out a sigh of relief. That night, we managed to contact our parents, confirming we'd arrive the next morning. Dad sent us their exact location on the mountain. But it was still 25 miles away. I'm afraid we don't have enough gas for this. We can make it to the foot of the mountain at best, but definitely not up it. I looked at the location, and then at the fuel gauge on the dashboard. Whatever happens, we have to get there. We'll take the back roads and save as much gas as possible. On our way back, every gas station we passed was completely out of fuel. The gas we bought earlier would have been enough. But taking the national roads was a huge detour, so we only had a tiny bit left. All right, stop stressing over it. Even if we have to walk, we're walking home. Get some sleep. We'll push on in a bit. 2 hours later, while it wasn't scorchingly hot yet, we drove toward our village. The rural roads were in terrible condition, bumping along the whole way. By the time we reached the village, it was already getting light out. But we were still 10 miles away from our parents' location. The fuel gauge was completely on empty. We could only crawl forward slowly. When we were just 2.5 miles away, the car completely died. We were forced to abandon it on the side of the road. It was only 8 or 9 in the morning, but the sun was so blinding we couldn't even open our eyes. I checked my phone and gritted my teeth. Les torse-go. Grabbed the water and the food. We're walking the rest of the way. Xiaowei wiped the sweat from his forehead, quickly grabbed several bottles of water and stuffed a few packs of bread into his backpack. We locked the car and started walking. This stretch was entirely dirt roads, hard to walk on and completely devoid of shade. Before long, I started feeling dizzy. I turned to look at my brother. His face was equally flushed red, but we had no choice but to keep pushing forward. We hadn't even walked half a mile before my vision started to blur. I quickly grabbed Xiaowei, found a large rock, and we hid behind it to rest. I looked at the mountain, which was so close, yet so far, but I had absolutely no strength left. This won't work, it's too hot. We'll never make it on foot at this rate. Call Mom and Dad to let them know. While we keep walking slowly. Xiaowei quickly pulled out his phone. He pressed the buttons a few times. En cure. Damn it, it's too hot. My phone completely froze up. Sis, use yours. I took out my phone. The moment I touched it, it felt boiling hot. The screen was black and unresponsive. What do we do? I gasped heavily for air and pointed at his backpack. Nokia. Xiaowei hastily dug out the old phone from his bag. After fiddling with it for a moment, the familiar, classic ringtone chimed out. The logo of two hands, holding together, appeared on the screen. A look of excitement crossed his face. With trembling hands, he took out his SIM card and slotted it in. About 5 minutes later, a faint signal bar appeared on the screen. He immediately dialed our mom's number. After 2 or 3 tries, she finally picked up. Mom, help us. Sis and I are at the foot of the mountain. The car ran out of gas. We can't make it up. Is our 3-wheeler there? Tell Dad to come down and get us. On the other end, my mom said hello. Hello, a few times. Then the call suddenly dropped. I grabbed the phone and called back again. But no one answered. Out of options, I fired off several text messages, praying that my mom would receive them. After that, I poured a bottle of water over my head. Finally, feeling a bit clearer-headed. It was getting hotter and hotter. It was significantly worse than just a moment ago. Fearing it would only get worse, I dragged my brother up to keep walking. Stopping and starting. Over an hour later, we finally reached the very base of the mountain. Before we even got close, we heard the asterisk, put 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 asterisk, sound of an engine. And yelled, Dad. We're over here. Watching my dad drive down on his agricultural 3-wheeler. A massive weight finally lifted off my shoulders. For the first 2 days after getting home, Xiaowei and I both ran high fevers. It took us a full week to recover. My mom looked at us, her heart aching. Thank God nothing terrible happened to you. If you hadn't come back, your dad and I were going to go out and search for you. We had some signal. The outside world has fallen into complete chaos. A lot of people tried fleeing up the mountains. But, with so little space, there's nowhere near enough room for everyone. I heard that people were literally killing each other, just to fight over the shade of a few trees. Thank goodness they can't get over to our side, otherwise, what would we do? Listening to this, I nodded in agreement. My dad had leased this entire mountain years ago. It's massive, hard to climb, and very well hidden. It's essentially a solitary peak for the one path up. The other sides are all sheer cliffs. The place we are living in now. I'll dig out. It's well ventilated and incredibly cool. Dad set up some basic electrical wiring before, and it's still holding up. I followed my mom through the winding cave tunnels and finally reached the kitchen area. The moment I stepped in, I was stunned. Inside this 100 square meter cavern, aside from the space for the stove and cooking, the rest of the area was packed to the ceiling with baskets of fruits and vegetables. There were also massive jugs of water and mountains of instant food. Seeing my jaw drop, my mom chuckled. What's wrong? Speechless. Your dad set all of this up. We already had a lot of fruit trees on our mountain. They ripened so fast we couldn't sell them all. So your dad just stored all the leftovers in here. A while ago, he even drove to town to haul back tons of water and food. He kept saying the weather was bizarre. and feared something terrible would happen, so he bought a lot. Looks like it actually saved our lives. Bêtement. He just overthinks everything. I nodded vigorously. My dad served in the military when he was younger. He always has incredible foresight. Always thinking 10 steps ahead and acting on it. This time, if he hadn't forced me to come back immediately, Xiao Wei and I probably would have died in the capital. I had seen the news earlier. Due to the extreme heat, the exteriors of many skyscrapers in the capital were melting off, and some buildings had even collapsed. The capital had already fallen into complete ruin. Thinking about this, a wave of dread washed over me. I wondered how my co-workers were holding up. Because of the heat, the internet was extremely unstable. The signal was practically non-existent. Being stuck up in the mountains essentially meant we were cut off from this terrifying, apocalyptic heatwave. I had no idea when it would finally end. In the 3rd month of the extreme heat, a turning point finally arrived. It started to rain. At first, it was just a fine, misty drizzle. But the rain grew heavier. En dévié. Until it morphed into a torrential, catastrophic downpour. The rain poured relentlessly for a full half month. For 15 days, it barely stopped for a second. 1 year later, the extreme heatwave finally passed. My family, along with a few surviving households from the village, with the help of the government, began to rebuild our homes. It was only then we learned that out of the original 100 households, only 8 had survived. A month later, electricity was finally restored to the village. And after that came the internet. After a whole year of silence, we finally learned what had happened to the outside world. The government released the statistics. After the heatwave apocalypse, less than 1/10 population survived. Regarding that catastrophic heatwave, some boldly speculated that it was an early warning from the Earth. For so many years, environmental destruction was endless. Global warming. Rising average temperatures at the North and South Poles, incessant deforestation, and rampant pollution. All of these factors likely triggered this extreme heatwave. And this terrifying apocalypse was simply the Earth activating its self-defense mechanism. The sharp decimation of the human population, ultimate revenge against humanity.